Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about when to write your query, which came from a question on the blog.
Yes.
Greg Blair asks, what do you think about creating a query before writing the book and then seek professional assistance in honing the query?
Yeah, and I've written about this a lot on the blog, and I will probably answer Greg's question also on the blog because we like to include the information on both places. Greg actually honed in on something that I've talked about a lot, and that's that I think the query writing, as well as the synopsis, should be part of the process of writing the manuscript. I think most authors are led to believe and are taught that the query is what you do when you're done with the manuscript, when you're ready to query. And what Greg pointed out is that on websites like Query Shark, a lot of what he reads when people are critiquing queries is that the problem may not be the query, it may be the book.
Right.
And that,
so to clarify, your query is your pitch of the book that you're sending to agents.
Correct. Your query is the letter you're writing. I often compare it best to the cover letter of your resume.
Right. For your book.
For your book. It's your pitch. And when we talk about writing the query, what we're talking mostly about is usually the blurb, which I compare most to the back cover copy of a book. Your query's blurb is really selling your book. It's not giving us a synopsis.
And that goal is to entice a reader. The goal of the query is to entice the reader into wanting to read the full book, which is just like the back of the blurb.
Exactly.
So there's benefits to writing that before you even start writing your book.
Right, because what you want to do is write a query that's really eye-catching, that grabs somebody's attention, and that makes them want to read the rest of the book.
And now what we're saying to write the query first, that doesn't mean to have it finalized. Of course, it's going to change once you write the book. So the process could be like writing that 2 to 3 paragraph pitch of the book, of what you envision it being most about, like what's central to the book. Then you develop it further in a synopsis, which is 2 to 3 pages of the full plot, subplots, all of that fun stuff.
Right.
And then you get to your book. And that's all bound to change, of course. But
yeah, I mean, there will probably be times as you're writing your book, I would suggest you look at your query regularly while writing the book so that you can say to yourself, is my book still on track to match this enticing, eye-catching, attention-grabbing pitch that I've written? Is my book straying too far?
Right, and it's like, but even if your query has to change, that's fine. But you're starting with that core idea and you're building outwards instead of trying to, because once you write the book, you know every part of the book, it's hard to detach yourself from the book.
Right, and if your book has if your core idea was, I don't know, if your core idea was this really strong idea, we all know a book can go in a completely different direction. But if it goes so far off that you no longer have a core idea for the book, it may not match the query, but if you no longer have any core idea of the book, you don't really have a pitch.
Right, so your query is kind of just like your guiding light throughout the thing, throughout the process of writing your book that you can keep referring to and tweaking and changing, of course, but keep referring to make sure you're on track for your vision of the book.
Yeah, and you may go back and rewrite the query. But if you're rewriting the query while you're writing the book, it allows you to look at both simultaneously to make sure both are working.
Right. So good question, Greg. And I think that as far as seeking professional assistance after honing the query, doesn't even have to be professional. It could just be some critique partner specifically for your query in terms of, hey, does this work? Are you enticed to read this? Does it make sense? Is the world building there? Is there too much world building?
Yes.
So writers are in the trenches writing queries all the time, and getting other writers' advice on it is free and
well,
easy.
And this is something you and I were discussing the other day when we were working on pitch letters here in the office about I'm of the belief it's a lot easier for me to edit somebody else's pitch letter when I've never read the book, because what I'm looking at is, are you grabbing my attention with your pitch? And I can give you feedback and suggestions solely on the pitch without getting mired in what I know about the manuscript.
Right. So if I know that this one line makes a lot of sense and is very important to the book, but you're saying, well, that's not the problem that you've outlined, and this one line is just kind of extra. Yeah. I can take it out. So there's a whole lot of give and take for someone who hasn't read the book, which is great to have critique partners specifically for your query.
Right, and this happens a lot when we are reading queries where maybe you'll say, Jane's mother was killed in a fiery car accident, and I'm like, well, that doesn't matter. like it doesn't matter to the query. And you'll say, well, it's really important to the book. And I'm like, well, that
Of course.
may well be,
Right.
but it has nothing to do with the query. And as an outsider, I can see that where the query is concerned and help you. So yes, you don't need professional guidance in writing the query, but finding a critique group of authors who haven't read your book can be really invaluable when creating that pitch. And it's something you can do early on in the process before you write the book.
Yes. So good luck. I think it's important to have that idea and keep referring back to it, but everybody has their own process. This is just our...
Yes. And when you're done with those queries, make sure to query us
Yes. Everything's down below.
down below.